embellishments in a journal are really rather special, and it's a joy to use books and old papers to make them. So in this week's video we're making 2-tier pockets to use in this journal to make up a spread. I'm also using watercolour paints and a stamp, and I'm really just hoping to inspire you to play and have fun with your junk journals and your art journal pages. And if you are a fan of junk journals and you love playing with paper, then hit the subscribe button and ring the little notification bell, because I have lots more videos and ideas to come. This is the journal spread that I did last week. It's all about using the colours of spring, and you can see the little daffodil doodle that we did as well. And this is the page that I'm going to be using this week. We're going to make some little pockets like this. We're going to stamp and watercolour that little flower that you can see next to the pencils. I'm really excited to show you how to make these pockets. They're incredibly easy. This is a selection of some of the pockets I've made this week. I love using old book pages to make my embellishments. And this week I'm using this very old encyclopedia to provide me with some black and white pages to make up a pocket. As you can see, the pictures are amazing. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm looking for a page to tear out, I can just spend forever choosing which page I want to use. So I'm just flicking through and looking for some images that might work. I'm just thinking that these 3 bees would work really well. And this page has a fantastic selection of insects on the top left, and they're in beautiful colours, and I just think this will be perfect for a pocket. So I've got a couple of pages from that encyclopedia, and the paper in that is quite matte and absorbent for watercolour, so I might be painting on one of those. But we can also use more modern books, so if you don't have an old encyclopedia or an old book, then you can also use glossy pages. This is a fantastic book about the British countryside. I love flicking through it to find images that will work with the theme of the journal that I'm working on. And if you would like me to do a different video just on making these, showing how to make them in some detail, then just let me know. So here we have a mixture of both glossy and matte, of both old and new pages, and both of them will work. So let's make a 2-tier pocket, and as usual on this channel, I'm just going to make it really easy, really straightforward. We start by making a fold down one side, and I'm just making that a really crisp fold using a little bone folder. Then I fold it lengthways, and I'm keeping that little rugged edge because on this occasion I think it adds something. But also there's very little margin, very little space between the picture and the edge of the paper, so it makes sense on this occasion to make my little margin and fold from the other side. And at this point, if you want to have rounded corners, then now's the time to use your corner rounder rather than when we've done the gluing. So I'm just snipping on each of the 4 corners. It's surprising how tough the old paper is here. And all we need to do is just put a little bit of glue along this long edge. And all I've done here is just fold it so that I'm still seeing the really pretty picture on the front. And because we want it to sit relatively flat in our junk journal when it's stuck on the page, I just give the bottom of it another little run with the bone folder. And all we need is a little bit of glue on the back of the piece that folds up. And I decide to add a little bit of a feature at the top in the form of a piece of washi. And the washi has small white dots on a black background, which seems to go well with the collection of insects in the picture. And here I'm just trimming it off to make it neat and tidy. So we have our first little 2-tier pocket. Really, really easy and a great way to use our old book pages. A great way to use pages from your black and white books is just to add a little bit of watercolour paint. So here I'm adding a very dilute blend of watercolour paint to a picture of, I think they're sweet peas. I've just mixed up a blend of blues and reds to make a shade of purple that's got a sort of ageing effect when I paint on the paper. And I'm just adding a little bit of a natural green shade to the stems. And I just set that aside to dry while we make a pocket out of this glossy paper. The same method applies. I'm just folding down the long edge on one side, then folding lengthwise in the middle and using my little corner rounder to tidy it up. A little bit of glue along that inner edge. And now that this page is nearly dry, well, nearly, we can have a go at turning this into a pocket as well. I do find that once I get started on making these pockets, it's pretty addictive, and the same can be said for the little envelopes that I make. I do have a couple of videos showing you in more detail how to make both pockets and envelopes if you're interested, so check those out if you want a more detailed and thorough step-by-step guide. They're both really easy. And again, I'm folding up the front here and just gluing it down. If you don't want to use glue, then you can use double-sided tape to seal these pockets. You probably want quite strong tape. And here we have a little selection of the pockets we've made, incredibly easy and very, very satisfying. Of course, you can make them with whatever pictures you want, whatever design, whatever suits your journal and your theme, whatever works for you. In the last couple of videos I've done a couple of doodles and they've really been a lot of fun. This week I thought I would use one of my stamps and then colour it in with a combination of those watercolour pencils and my little watercolour paints. So I'm just using a little squared piece of scrapbook paper and I'm inking up my stamp on the right. I have had some questions on how to use watercolour pencils, so this is just one idea, but it would be great if any of you have got other ideas or you could share how you're using your watercolour pencils. I managed to get quite a crisp image on the page, on that little squared piece of paper, and I'm just choosing 2 or 3 colours from the set of pencils. And the reason I particularly wanted to use pencils for this is to achieve a form of ombre effect, which isn't so easy with wet paint, so the pencils seem to work really well. What I'm doing really is starting with the palest colour. I'm not being tidy and I'm just working from yellow to orange to red, and then I'm just taking a little bit of water and blending it. And I do steal just a little bit of the red to add some extra depth at the edge of the petals. And here I'm using a very natural green to paint the stem and the leaves, and as usual the paint set that I'm using is my little set of white knights. And one tip that I have when you're painting using your stamps is to not have too much paint or pigment on your brush, just so that you see through it a little bit, and that gives the leaf here a slightly more natural look. And as we're making beautiful things, I thought a good quote this week would be all about beauty. So I've chosen a little paragraph by Byron which reads, "She walks in beauty like the night, of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light, which heaven to gaudy day denies." The book here is the Oxford Dictionary of Quotations, and I'm just writing on a little piece of K&Co scrapbook paper that comes from a large stack. And now the fun bit, putting it all together. And I'm just choosing what I want to use from this collection. I've managed to create some pockets with colours that tone here. In fact, it's making it quite hard to choose which one I want to use. So it's a good daub of glue on the back here to make sure that it attaches really firmly to the page. And I just press it down to make sure that it really is quite secure. And I'm just tearing another little piece of scrapbook paper to make a pocket for that spotty piece of paper on the right there. And this pocket will hold our quote. And another little piece of pretty scrapbook paper that just matches some of the decoration behind one of those tags on the left hand side. And I think our hand painted flower will work really well just tucked in here. And this is our beautiful journal spread for April. I've got a couple of tags here to write on that I've decorated with some washi and some little bits of vintage paper. And I just put a little bit of extra washi tape on the bottom left here just to bring it all together. I do hope that you've enjoyed making two-tier pockets and a journal page with me this week. If you've enjoyed it, then hit the subscribe button and ring that little notification bell, because we're going to have a lot more fun next week. Same time, same place. See you then. Bye.